Hi everyone, thanks for joining us again. You're listening to Spooky Mountain. I am Steph and I've got Jordi with me.
G'day, g'day.
And yeah, we're back. This is a bit of a couple days late, this episode, but we finally got it out.
We're here.
I'm so excited. We've been really, it's been so good, like just recording again.
It is so good.
yeah.
One of my favorite things in the world is just like finding out what your story is.
Yeah. Oh my God. I've got a really good one. I've got a really good one today.
I don't even remember if you gave me your clue and what it is.
Oh, fuck. Oh my God. Yeah. Wait, what? Did we imagine if we're doing something similar?
No, you did give me your clue, but I just can't remember now what it is. That would be fucking hilarious if we did the same story. What would we do? We would have to cancel the episode.
Yeah, or we just do both stories and see how similar they are.
Who does better?
That would be really funny.
Have a competition.
Oh my God. Well, it is about it's one of our favorite cryptids.
Oh God, I just had such a panic because I thought you were going to just say
what you've done.
What I'm doing.
Oh, no.
Because I now remember you telling me cryptid.
Oh,
but I was just second guessing myself.
It is a cryptid.
Oh, I'm panicking.
But
awesome cryptid.
But this is different. This one's a little bit different because it's not, I wouldn't say personal. In a way, it's a bit personal.
Okay.
I think this is a really special one, this episode.
Wait, Did you say it's one of our favorite cryptids?
One of our favorite cryptids. And it's a bit personal.
Shit.
That's all I'm going to say.
Oh my God. I'm so fucking excited.
I know you are. I know because you'll love this one.
I love this. I love these kinds of stories.
Yeah, it's great. What are you doing? I have no idea.
What? I didn't even pre-think about what my hint should be. I guess you could call it a bit of history, but it does border on conspiracy theory.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's like a pretty well-known thing, but cool. Like I knew about it, but I didn't know the depths of the details. So yeah, it's super interesting.
So it's like a bit of a deep dive kind of conspiracy history one.
And it's pretty fucked up as well. So I think
fuck yeah.
We're going to have two great stories.
Oh my God. Oh.
As per usual.
Oh my God, we're so good. How are we doing this every fucking week?
I don't know. Somebody sponsor us.
I know, like what's going on? Oh, well, let's do our little housekeeping, as you all know the drill. We have options for you if you'd like to support the podcast. We have nearly been doing this for a year, which is really crazy to think about.
That's true. Not far off a year at all.
No, not far at all. And surprisingly, we already made ourselves a Patreon, which we've already got amazing patrons already, which I don't know how the fuck we got to that point. But yeah, that is the best way you can support us. We have a link in the show notes to our Patreon, and if you sign up, you can get access to exclusive videos, and we have special posts that we've made. We've got a private Discord group as well where we'll shoot the shit in there. Otherwise, of course, if you don't want to sign up, that's totally okay. We'd be more than happy for just an amazing review on the podcast you listen to. Or just leave a rating or share us around with your friends. That would be so good.
Yeah, and I guess like one of the best things that you can do is just like keep on listening to us.
Yeah.
And mention us to your mates or just one mate.
Yeah.
Mention us to one person. But yeah, just like your continuous listening is just like one of
we see you all.
Ways.
We see you all in our stats. We know who you are.
Oh my God. We're constantly following our stats
on
like how many listens we get, where they're coming from.
Yeah, it's crazy how many we have from all over the world. Just like one like little town, and we don't know who exactly they are, but we can just say that they've come from like this weird town and they
some obscure
like, consistently listen every episode. And I'm like, oh, thank you.
I know. There's like, I think there's like one or two people from, or actually maybe more than that, from India.
Yeah.
Who listen to us in India.
Yeah.
Which is wild because I wouldn't even think that the podcast would make it to somewhere like India and like Mexico and crazy amazing places like that.
Yeah.
And Iceland, we had someone from Iceland.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, it's
Never been to Iceland.
I would love. That's like my number one place.
Oh, it looks so
I was
beautiful.
I used to be obsessed with Sigur Rós, so
Oh, I see.
Iceland was like my place I wanted to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess another additional way of supporting us is following us on social media, keeping tabs on what we're doing through our posts and stuff. We post photos pertaining to our stories that we've told for the week and just other cool things that we do. And you can find a link to our social medias and to our website in our show notes. And something else that you can do if you're into this kind of thing is leave us a voice message. And we fucking love voice messages.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, baby. You can leave a voice message on what's called SpeakPipe, which you can find on our website. Yeah, maximum 60-second, 1 minute voice message.
Yeah,
leave
be
us a
anything.
message.
It's a
Could be
super fun
anything.
little story, little spooky story, little funny thing you want to tell us.
Yeah, it really warms our cold, dead hearts when we get voice messages. Or if you like, you can send us an email at spookymountainpodcast@gmail.com. So just quickly also, we are planning a listener story episode soon. So if you have your own spooky story of any kind, UFOs, cryptids, ghosts, whatever, Ouija board, send us an email at spookymountainpodcast@gmail.com with your story, and we'll tell it on the listener episode, and you'll become famous like us.
Oh my god, yeah. We've already done a couple of those episodes already, and they have we've had great feedback for those, and it's just really cool, like hearing like personal stories and experiences that you've all had, because we all have weird shit happening to us. And
it's really fun. Super fun. It's a bit more lighthearted as well, and people really love listening to them. We get really good feedback, I think, because it's a bit more personal. Like the stories that we tell on the podcast regularly are quite big, sometimes well-known stories or topics.
So trying to cover the whole topic of the whole story all in kind of one, like all within like 20 minutes, but when it comes to these stories, it's just really pinpointing on one particular experience, and it sounds, I love it coming from the person that had it happen to them. Yeah,
definitely. I think it's more, just like regular people having like creepy experiences. It's a lot more personable, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it's fun. So yeah, do that if you want to. We would love to hear from you.
I had something creepy happen to me the other day. Oh, you usually do, but now
it's usually me.
Yeah. Well, I think it's
what
creepy.
Happened?
Well, yeah, it's fucking weird. Like, it actually was wigging me out. So the other day, me and Dylan were just watching TV. It was at nighttime, and we're sitting on our couch. And to the left of us is our big open window that is facing our backyard. And then you can just see big trees in the background where, like, the small houses. And it was a completely clear night, and we were just watching TV. All of a sudden, at the corner of our eye, it looked like...
Oh, my God, what was it?
Well, it was the whole window pretty much lit up. Like, it was like, when a lightning bolt hits and everything lights up like it's daytime. That's what happened. It was like this white flash. The trees lit up. The sky lit up. Everything else outside lit up. And it was like 1 second, and we were like, holy shit.
What the fuck is that?
And we both looked at each other going, what the fuck was that? And Dylan's like, wow, that was lightning. And I was like, yeah, but we didn't hear anything. And he's
There's
like,
no thunder or clap or
yeah,
anything.
nothing. It was silent. And I was like, oh, that was weird. And I was like, go get up, have a look. He goes, I'm not fucking getting up. And I was like,
Dylan.
I'm not getting up. And then, like a few seconds later, I'm not even kidding, a circle, like a spotlight of white, just appeared on one of the huge, big, bushy trees, just on the tree.
What? Did it look like a spotlight from like a head?
It didn't look like it was coming down, which I know a lot of people are probably thinking
it's a UFO.
Well, that's all. Yeah, it was. it looks like it was coming from our house, which is a bit weird. Like it was like a circle.
So strange.
And we were so scared. We just sat there in shock. We paused the TV and we were both just staring outside going, is it going to happen again? Is something going to happen? Nothing else happened again. So I just got up, looked out the window, not a cloud in the sky.
So no lightning.
No lightning. We looked the radar on the app, no clouds, no storms, no rain, nothing.
There weren't any helicopters around
No,
or anything?
no. And we're in a very residential
spotlights?
area. So it was.
You'd be able to hear it as well.
It was like 10 at night. Nothing around. There's no one on the streets or anything. And we just were like, the weird thing is they were two completely different lights. Like, they were both the same color of white, but they both were doing completely different things. Yeah.
Like the first one was like a flash, right? And then the second one was almost like a spotlight.
It was just, a defined circle on the tree. Like if you had a torch shining on it, but it was so defined.
That is wild.
Which doesn't, if you usually shine a torch on a tree, it's not like an exact circle. It's like.
No.
Yeah. And
what was it?
I don't know.
What if you got visited by aliens?
I know, because he was like, look up. Like that thing, like, dig up, stupid. He was like, look up. And I was like, there's nothing fucking there. And he's like, there's got to be something there. Like, what? That wasn't. That didn't make sense. He's like,
I was not expecting this.
I know. I'm sorry.
To come from this
we
story.
were panicking, and then we just turned the show off, and then we both just went to bed and just silently sat there, just like
lay there perfectly still, not touching each other.
Just like quiet. And we're like, okay, I guess we'll have to watch TikTok and try and forget it now. So
what? That's so strange. I can't even think of what that would be because my first instinct is that first flash could have been lightning, but there's no clouds.
There was no clouds, and no noise either.
No noise either.
It was like the exact same thing of what would happen with lightning, where, I guess most of you probably have experienced it with lightning before, where it's so close that everything looks like daytime.
Just lights up,
Yeah. It wasn't like a flash, like if someone was to like flash a big like spotlight out the house or anything. It wasn't like that, because that would be like blinding in our eyes. Like it wasn't that type of.
Everything just kind of lit up.
Every single thing outside just went daytime, and like a white daytime. Like it's hard to explain what it was, because it happened so fast, but we both saw it, and then we were just staring going, what the fuck? And then we just saw the circle, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm done. Like,
and it was like on a bush in your yard.
So the tree, so my yard, so from the back of my house, like where the window is, to the end of my fence, it's probably about 3 cars in length. Like that's how long my backyard is. Then there's my fence. Then there's another house, just like a normal like 2-bedroom house. And then after that, there's a big park with a huge big like oak tree. So it's actually really big, but that's how far away the tree was. And the circle was like probably covering like half the tree.
Oh, I wasn't
It was
thinking
big.
that it was that big.
Yeah.
So small.
It was like in the middle of the tree, but like it was a big circle.
That's crazy that you saw that, because at first flash, I'm sure a lot of people would have seen. But then you managed to catch that second light as well. Like that's lucky that you were close enough to see that.
We were even thinking like, or maybe like an electricity box blew or something, but still there was no noise. No. And then what the fuck was the second light? Like,
and I think with an electricity box, I don't think it would be that bright that it would just light up everything.
And I've seen them blow up. They're like spark and they fizz and
make very loud noises.
Very loud noises, yeah.
That's wild. I wonder if you could join some kind of like community page and see if anyone saw
I do have a few community like UFO like Sydney pages, but it's hard because we didn't technically. And it was so close range to where we were as well. Like it would literally be our street and that's it. That would have seen that.
I wonder if like a community, because I'm part of a community page that is just like people from my town.
Oh,
it's
right,
not like
right.
UFO or anything.
Got
just
you.
like a town page.
There's no community pages where I live.
Yeah.
They're not. I don't know
Okay.
why no one's done one. Like all the surrounding suburbs, yes. But I think it's
You should
because
start one.
I was thinking about that, but I am moving. I was actually
that's
thinking of
true.
doing that. I think because
It'd be
the
pretty
suburb I
cute.
live in is just because it's a main suburb, like it's quite big.
Oh,
No
yeah,
one gives a
okay.
fuck. Like there's like
No.
there'll be too many people that'll join. It'll just be a
Yeah.
shit show.
It definitely is like a smaller.
It's like a buy,
town
the
thing.
sell swap buy kind of. That's
Yeah.
it. And I don't even know how to post on there for some reason. I thought the person that made it, I think is like in their 60s or something. I didn't realize that they're the only ones that can post on there.
Oh, no.
But heaps of boomers have like
just-
joined it, and
Oh my
no one can
God.
post except for the
It's
person.
only just full of selfies of them of
It's
half
just-
their face.
It's
That's
so
the whole page.
It's a nightmare. I joined it and I was like, oh, I'm leaving straight away. This is
Yeah.
horrible.
Oh my God. The like community pages that I'm part of are so good because they let everyone know when there's like speed cameras, like the
Oh yeah, that's
mobile
what you
speed
want.
cameras everywhere, and so you always get a warning when to slow down.
Hell
great.
yeah, that's
True community spirit.
That's what I fucking need.
Yeah.
Be warning people about random spotlights and shit.
Yeah.
And the
but they're
cops,
so
actually, because there is a cop that's parked outside of my house. Not because of me. I mean, that sounds kind of dodge.
a
But
bit sus, yeah.
yeah, I know. It's got nothing to do with me.
She's up to no good again.
Oh, God, even now when I word it, like since I moved here, there has been a
Okay,
cop
Steph.
every day.
Sure.
But he like catches people because one of our roads is like a main road. And
Oh yeah.
people speed up and down the road, but the cop speeds more than the people that they're like going 1 kilometer over the
drivers
speed limit, and he's just like a
around
fucking
Sydney are fucking crazy though.
Yeah.
It's so stressful.
Yeah.
Like compared to the mountains, like everyone's so chill.
Oh yeah,
with driving in Sydney. It's just everyone is so angry.
it's terrifying down here. Actually,
Yeah.
terrifying.
A lot of bad drivers. Anyway, should we get in? Oh, before we get into the stories, we just need to quickly point out the elephant in the room that we did skip a week here or there, and now we've got a late episode, and we just want to thank you for being patient. But you know, we've got life stuff happening, and we do like to try our hardest to be consistent.
I know,
because
it's
we know
painful
that's what
for us,
people
but
like. Yeah, I mean, it's hard.
It's a weird time right now for both
It
of
is.
us.
It's a
so.
very weird time. I think, you know, a few months ago it was a lot easier for Steph and I
Yeah.
to kind of be more reliable, but, you know, life is happening. So,
yeah.
you know, we're still trying our best, but yeah, we just apologize.
Yeah. Even this one's a bit late.
skipping
We're like, we'll still get it out, you know, because we've got the stories just sitting
Yeah.
there. It's just finding the time for both of us to
Yeah.
record and then be able to edit it as well, because we edit everything as well. So it's
that's exactly right. It's not just like recording the episode, it's like doing the editing, and then just sometimes it's like I literally just like one of us will say do not have the time.
yeah, like
Just
it's not
don't have the
physically
time. It's impossible.
Yeah,
You know, but I mean,
we
it's
made
fine.
the
I
time
think
this week, even
I
though-
think people are very understanding of that kind of thing.
you guys
so
are all amazing.
yeah.
So
Let's get into it.
so oh my god, okay. Well, I'm really excited for this one. I've been so
Oh my
excited
God,
to
you're
tell the
doing
story.
a favorite cryptid. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a really special episode for me, I think.
Okay.
Actually, you know, it's for both of us it is.
Okay.
Because it's something that we both love now, both of us. And it's very close to home as well.
What is it?
It is home actually, because it's all about the Blue Mountains and the stories of Yowies that have been going on for years.
Oh my God, I'm so happy. I had a feeling when you said one of our favorite cryptids, I was like,
I was
think
like,
it's a Yowie.
It's Yowies for sure. Yeah.
I am so
Yeah.
happy.
So
you know, I've been
all about the Blue
wanting...
Mountains.
Oh, just Blue Mountains Yowies.
Blue Mountains Yowies.
Oh, amazing.
That's it. Mhm.
I've been wanting to do Yowies, but to be honest, I've been leaving it
Oh, have you?
for you to potentially do.
There's
'cause
so
I
much
know
like
that-
Yowie and Bigfoot content. It's crazy out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought I'd kind of pinpoint a particular area for this one, because obviously it's home to us, and
Oh my God,
there's
I'm so
so
excited
much
for this.
there. So, and just first off for everyone as well, like if you haven't listened to our Bigfoot basics or What Against Yowie episodes, like we highly recommend probably
that.
stopping this and going back and listening to those first. Just you know,
Yes.
unless you are kind of in the loop with Yowies and stuff, Because there's probably some stuff I'm going to mention. They're going to be like, what the fuck?
What is this? Yeah.
So yeah, large hairy men. So they've been a very common knowledge amongst nearly all Indigenous cultures across the world, and up until today, people are having encounters with them nearly every day around the world. You would mostly know them as Bigfoot or Sasquatch, but here in Australia, they're known as the Yowie or Yahoo. So some people call them the Yahoo. Yeah, which isn't very common, but the Yahoo.
Is that? I think that's an Indigenous word for it.
Yeah.
Cool.
That was kind of
if
what
I just jumped on your story.
No, yeah, you're right. Like, I think particular tribes were calling them the Yahoo, and then I think because of that's like the noise that they made.
That's so creepy.
Yeah, which is really creepy. So with the Yowies and the Bigfoot and everything, the descriptions are pretty much the same as you would hear from the US. But one thing that we've noticed here in Australia is that they seem to be a bit larger here. Some of the stories, I found that, now I could be wrong, there are definitely more stories in the US coming out from Yowies from Bigfoot. But the ones that, a lot of the stories I've heard about Australia is they tend to be up to like 10, 11 feet tall.
That's huge.
Yeah. And you don't get me wrong, they do get that big in America as well, but I feel like a lot more of our stories
it's more common
tend to be
Australia.
Really big, and they're a lot more aggressive here as well.
It's funny you say that because I have read just like a couple of Blue Mountains Yowie stories, like encounters, and they are mad. They seem like really angry and very, very aggressive.
Yeah, they definitely
defensive
are.
Or
it would really suck to come across the Yowie. So why did I choose the Blue Mountains? Well, of course, this place is home to Jordi and to me again soon, and it's a hotbed for UFO and Yowie sightings. The Blue Mountains is a 1.5 hour drive west of Sydney, and it is part inspiration for our name, Spooky Mountain, as well.
Oh, I'm like giddy with excitement for all of this.
It feels nice talking about the Blue Mountains. So not only is this a really cool place, but it's also really beautiful there as well. It's got eucalyptus tree forests, native bushlands. They make up a huge, thick and diverse area to explore. We have massively steep sandstone cliffs, canyons, rainforests, waterfalls, streams, little towns, and the people are really cool as well. Now, this isn't an ad for the Blue Mountains because it seems like it probably is, because probably by the end of this you won't be wanting to go to the Blue Mountains.
Get all the good stuff out of the way first.
That's kind of where it ends. So Yowies have been spotted in every state across Australia, but the majority are on the east coast due to the dense bushland of the Great Dividing Range, and the Blue Mountains being right in the middle. So the Great Dividing Range is a long stretch of thick, continuous bush that extends from the north of the east coast all the way down to the south, and it's the world's third longest mountain range, which I did not
know.
No, me neither.
It is huge.
It's massive.
I knew that it was huge. I have seen it from like a plane as well.
Yeah.
One flight I took, it kind of like descended over the mountains. And
wow.
At that point I was like, the mountains are it just goes on forever.
It's a really, really long mountain range. Yeah. So New South Wales has the first recorded accounts back from the time the Europeans arrived, although the Indigenous people knew these were here the whole time. They would actually tell them about these hairy men and would want them to stay far away from going too deep into the bush, and would tell them the signs if one was near, similar to the ones we still talk about today. So the Gundungurra people have lived in the Blue Mountains for thousands of years, mainly up the top of the Blue Mountains. The Darug people live towards the lower part of the mountain. When they would talk about the Yowie, which stood for Great Hairy Man, this is what they would describe it as: an enormous man-like beast covered from head to toe in long hair. It has no neck, as the head is sunk into the shoulders.
Oh.
It walks on 2 feet and produces a grunting noise, but will make a screeching noise if disturbed.
Wow, sounds like me old man.
Yeah.
Had to be done. But really, that's quite scary.
That is really scary. Yeah. Now, of course, hearing this as one of the Bushmen at the time, you'd be fucking terrified.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to Australia as well with all of our new types of animals, that would be strange enough. And then hearing about a large animal like that, you'd be like...
A large squealing animal.
Yeah. You'd just be like, oh, okay, this is too much. But as time went on, the majority of the Australian public never knew about any stories of the Yowie unless you lived further out of the main cities. So it wasn't until Rex Gilroy, who was a well-known name in this field, came forward and wrote the first article about the Yowie. In 1976, Rex wrote an article named Ape-Man in Australia in the Psychic Australian magazine. It's now known as the Mysterious Australia. So this brought attention to all the city folk about what was really going on in the bush. So Rex is honestly a legend. I don't know if you know who he is. Him and his wife, they have like a really amazing Facebook page and they do like articles all the time still.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, I've not heard of this person.
He's amazing. He actually, currently he runs the Mount Victoria History Museum as well.
Really?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so he lives up in the Blue Mountains. He's like a Blue Mountains local, and their house is filled with all this crazy stuff. They've got like Bigfoot Yowie castings and photos of UFOs, like anything to do with the paranormal, the strange.
Oh my God.
They're onto it.
That's incredible.
Yeah, Rex has been doing it for decades. So Rex has been around this stuff like since he was young. But what got him into the topic of Yowies was when he had his first experience in Katoomba in the 70s.
Of course, it was Katoomba, and of course, it was the 70s.
Yeah.
The 70s, man.
The
like
70s.
in Katoomba, it's literally
the time to be
the
alive.
time for like
The time and place.
UFOs and cryptids and stuff.
Oh, yeah. What are some of the first reported sightings in the area? So let's get into that now.
Awesome.
So as we know, the Indigenous people of Australia have been dealing with the Yowie for a very long time, but it wasn't until 1795 when the first official report would be made. When the Europeans first came to Sydney Cove, which is now the city of Sydney, and not long after in the 1820s, when the Europeans started to make their way through the Blue Mountains, they would start to hear stories from the Indigenous people. It was around this time that we would start to hear the first reports from around Wentworth Falls, Katoomba, and Blackheath. There would be occasional sightings of hairy men hiding in the bush while land would be begun to be cleared to make way for the towns.
Oh, I bet the Yowies were pissed that their homes were being destroyed.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. They're just like seething from the sidelines.
Yeah.
Ugh. In 1870, a settlement was created near Ruined Castle, which is an amazing natural rock feature that we have here. And the settlement was established for the purpose of mining shale deposits. This would also be the time that coal mining in the Blue Mountains was at its peak, and the famous steep railway was built to transport the coal from the bottom of the cliff to the top. Which, if no one knows what that is, they should definitely Google it. I think it's like the steepest railway in the world.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty, yeah.
It's fucked up. It's like, it's just a ride now. Like, it's just...
Even just looking at it,
it makes
your butthole pucker.
I hate heights, and I've done
have
it
you
twice.
Been on it?
Yeah.
Oh, you hate heights.
I've done it, though. Up and down.
I'm proud of you for doing
Thank
that.
Thank you.
You get scared, like, looking at
it still makes me sick.
Branch on a tree, like, just...
It's so bad. I know, I can't even climb a ladder, but the steepest railway, sure.
No problem.
So during the creation of the settlement near Ruined Castle, one of the miners had come across a Yowie described as an ape-like man who was 6 feet tall. He could see it not too far away, moving through the shrubs, and was completely oblivious to the man looking at him. As the miner went to pick up a large branch to use as defense and started to follow the creature, it started to move faster through the shrub and eventually disappeared.
Oh, God. It's just the thought of seeing that in the bush. Oh, wait, was he alone as well?
He was alone. Yeah, he was just exploring some new, like, area to kind of extend the mining, and then he just was like, oh, what the fuck is that?
What would you do? You would just freeze. I feel like I would just freeze.
I feel like I would freeze too. Yeah. But then again, like, you just don't even, I don't know.
You don't know.
I can't even imagine myself in that position. I really can't.
It would be amazing, but also just in the moment, it would be terrifying.
Yeah, I hope I freeze, because if I, for some reason, become like psycho energy and be like, I'm going to kill it, then I'll die.
Yeah, it'll get you for
no
sure.
Way. The ruined castle is still to this day a hotspot for Yowie sightings.
Right.
But that's not the only place on the list. Close by, there is another location known as Devil's Hole, which was known for having a Yowie living close by in the settlement there. One of the indigenous people there actually told a European about this and volunteered to take him down there because he knew where it lived. But he completely refused to go down there because he had too many stories at this point, and he was like, I'm good.
I'm good. No, I don't think I believe really you. Need that I in don't. Your life.
Yeah, it's like, I don't need to see it. No. And the Devil's Hole leads into the massive Megalong Valley, where people have constantly heard the cries and screeches of Yowies.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. And the word gubba is what the local tribes would actually call this particular noise, and would all associate the word with great fear, which is really interesting. Gubba.
Ooh, that's
a Yowie noise. Yeah. Ooh.
I can just imagine hearing that noise in the distance, like what that would kind of sound like and feel like.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's because we listen to the those like Bigfoot recordings, the Sierra sounds from your Bigfoot Basics episode. But yeah, I can just imagine,
because they always talk about how you can feel it in your chest, like it's so it doesn't even sound right. A lot of people say it sounds like electronic sometimes. Like I've heard that where it just doesn't sound normal.
Strange.
Yeah, so it would be terrifying, honestly, to hear one of these noises. But further south of this location is Mount Solitaire. And in 1976, two 18-year-old boys went out there for a hike and stayed to camp for the night. After they set up their campfire and decided to head to sleep, it was now about 11:15 p.m. and they could hear strange noises outside their tent in the bushes. As they peeked outside their tent, they would see 4 hairy man-like creatures.
4 of them?
Oh, yeah. Standing up to around 5 feet tall.
Oh, my God.
The boys did not have any weapons on them, so they grabbed some spare tent poles, and as they stood up to attack the animals, they all scattered off into the bushes.
Oh, that is just so intimidating.
It makes me want to throw up.
That's like a family.
That's a family, yeah.
Of Yowies.
Yeah.
Or like a mob.
Yeah. And as the sun came up, they literally just packed all their shit and they got out of there so fast. They're like, no. You're not going to stay a few days. And they were just like, nope, first night, we're gone.
Way.
And something very similar happened a year before as well, near the base of the Three Sisters in Katoomba. A man was camping with his 2 sons near the Federal Pass Trail when they were awoken by extremely loud grunting noises and branches being snapped. As they looked outside their tent, they saw a large Yowie staring straight at them, around 5 to 6 feet tall, and then the creature turned around and walked back into the bush.
Oh, this is at the Three Sisters?
This is the base of the Three Sisters. Yeah, you know the Federal Trail?
Yes.
Yeah, just off there. Yeah. Like literally everywhere we've been.
Oh my God. It's just everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, these places are in the bush. They're in the bush. Like
I guess that's the thing about the Blue Mountains is that
everything.
Many
if you're not at a house, you're in the bush.
You're in the bush, yeah. And many of the recreational things to do in the mountains is like go for bushwalks.
Yep.
So
go rock climbing.
Go
down to the stream or whatever.
Go
like
for a
it's
swim,
all
yeah.
exactly right where they live. So
wow.
So the Blue Mountains is a very popular place to go. As we were just saying, yep, camping, rock climbing, bouldering, and all sorts of adventure type stuff. It's like full adventure place. Everyone goes there to do that shit. But when it comes to camping, you should really be careful where you go, because it was actually weird when I was researching all of this. I just randomly came across a review for a camping ground called Old Ford Reserve, which is in the Megalong Valley. And there was only 5 reviews for this place. And 2 of the most recent reviews caught my attention. So in 2019, someone made the comment, quote, "Do not stay here. There is a madman who lives in the bush and terrorized the camping ground at night. We were petrified and would never stay here again."
Wow. I mean, I'm not surprised because there's many pretty blank.
In Megalong Valley, like as I was saying before, like this place is massive and it's just all bush. So
that is pretty strange, because sometimes campgrounds are kind of a bit more public friendly and there's like parking areas and bathrooms, but if it's like right out in the bush,
just secluded. There, some of them don't have running water or anything like that, and I think that's kind of what this vibe was. So that one was in 2019, and then 2 years later there was another review from someone else that said this area is a prime Yowie hotspot.
oh my god, we need to go camping here.
Only camp once you are certain there isn't a Yowie present. This includes, but is not restricted to, the eerie feeling of being watched, unusually quiet forest/wildlife, giant trees crashing. Wow. If you don't notice any of these, then you might have a pleasant time. But if they start at any instant, you must evacuate, as your life is potentially in danger and they have been known to kidnap people. Do not accuse me of being crazy. These things are out there and there are sightings across Australia.
Yeah.
The bush is not safe. If you want to guarantee a Yowie-free camping experience, then you need to go further inland to harsher conditions where there is no dense forest and easily accessible sources of water.
Oh, that's a good point.
I only spent a night there, but some very strange things happened, and that's when I researched and figured out what it was. Ignore my warnings and your life is potentially at stake.
This person is so serious about Yowies.
He's seen some shit. He's seen some actual shit. But
maybe it's just someone that spent too long in the city.
It's like the bush. Don't fucking go out there.
Don't go in the bush.
I could not believe, like, this was literally just me, like, accidentally clicking a review for like, I didn't even notice it had anything to do with Yowies, and I just saw that.
Both of those reviews.
Both of them.
That
and the other 3
one,
were
though,
great, because there's only 5. And the other 3 were like, it's beautiful.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, wait, so it's almost half.
Yes, well, true.
It's half of the reviews.
Yeah.
The like crashing trees is very interesting, because that for sure is something that has,
everything he says is like, that makes sense. Like, that's actually what you should be. And everyone has that feeling that they know they're being watched. And then also, like, usually before something happens or someone sees a Yowie, everything goes silent in the bush. All of the birds and the crickets and everything just goes silent. So there are particular things you can definitely listen out for. So I don't know. I mean, maybe we should do something.
Do a camp out there.
Yeah.
We could do like an alien watch, a UFO watch / Yowie hunt.
We got to get some fucking good equipment. We got to.
Yeah, we've got to do it before you burst out a child.
Yeah, sign up to our Patreon.
Well. Yeah, sign up and support us.
So this does make me quite scared to move back up, but it's also like really exciting.
Very exciting.
Like, it's so scary to even think of camping in the Blue Mountains again. Like, I have done it many times.
Yes.
But I think it's kind of scary, because, like, I used to camp a lot and I don't know, like, I do want to do it, but at the same time, is it safe? Because now this is like legitimately something I believe in now. Like
Yeah.
I didn't believe in this before. I didn't really, it
Back
wasn't on my
then.
radar at all. I'd never looked
No.
into it at all.
I
So
think like Yowies for me, and I think for a lot of other people, and
Yeah.
I'm sure yourself, are such a kind of like one of the most legitimate or like possible
yeah.
things that are real,
Yeah.
especially in the mountains.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think it would be amazing to see one, but
I would
like,
love to see one, but then
imagine it would be very dangerous.
yes.
and-
Oh, definitely. And so now we go much further up the mountain from Megalong Valley, and we're going into the Gross Valley, which is near the town of Blackheath. So a few men had a really great encounter. Again, it's in the 1970s, and all 6 of them had walked into the Gross Valley by Perry Lookdown and walked through the Blue Gum Forest. It was a long hike, but the goal was to reach Piker's Flat. As they just walked over the Blackheath Creek, they could all start to hear a loud crashing noise coming from up in the forest. As they all looked over to see what it was, they could see a very large human-like creature standing around 8 feet tall, very close to them.
Oh.
They described it as being 4 feet across from shoulder to shoulder. It absolutely stunk, and it had very long pendulous breasts.
Oh, we've got a lady.
Yeah, yeah.
Yowie.
Yeah, which is a nice touch
Pendulous.
there. Pendulous breasts,
That's hot.
which will be me in a year
Oh,
from
girl.
now.
It will be. Trust me.
So they said they could tell by its facial expression it wasn't angry, but it seemed more curious as to what they were doing there. And the face looked more human than ape.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's I don't like that.
So they were that close. They
They
actually
could see it. Yeah.
had a good look at it. Yeah.
Maybe they were just close enough to be able to see that, whereas other people aren't close enough. But I guess no.
Well, there was first of all there were 6 of them, so this is like a combined. Like they all pretty much got a good look
Yep.
at it. They weren't even there for that. They looked at it and were like, "Oh my fucking god, what is going on?" And then they just turned around and left. But yeah, with 6 of them, and they said it was like very close, like within a few feet, like it was right there.
Like maybe just other sightings aren't close enough to be able to see that the face is kind of a bit more human-like.
Yeah,
but
and even
with
telling like the
saying that-
expression on it's pretty cool.
the expression but for people to have other encounters and to say it has like an ape-like face, maybe there are just different kinds as well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Now, something that we all don't really know is what they eat. We can only really speculate because there are, of course, mixtures of articles out there. Some people say they're herbivores or carnivores or both. But there has been some interesting finds in the Blue Mountains. Like in North Katoomba, deep in the bush, a pony was found. The neck had been broken. The head was pretty much ripped off, including parts of its back that had chunks missing.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
We do not have bears in Australia.
No,
We don't have wolves. We
Nope.
don't have anything.
we got nothing like
I
that.
cannot even think of one thing that would be able to
No, not
cause
at all.
that.
And to make it even weirder, there were Yowie footprints nearby. But yeah, just a reminder to anyone that's not in Australia, we don't have bears, we don't have we do have wild dogs, I guess, but they're not really as common as you'd think. And
No.
I think for a
it's-
pony to attack that does not make sense. To get the pony out into the bush
Yeah.
and then do that to the pony.
Yeah. And for there to be footprints as well.
Yeah,
and like
exactly.
the wild dogs that we have, they're not similar to like coyotes. Or
No. See, I've
wolves or
never even
anything like
seen a wild dog in the Blue Mountains. I
No.
know maybe 2 people that have seen one.
Yeah.
So that's how common they are.
I don't think so. But in like, yeah, you made a good point. Like the pony ending up out in the bush.
It
that
was
just
out of
doesn't
its
really make
enclosure
sense.
and into the bush. And it's like literally its head was like pretty much just ripped off.
Crazy. And neck was broken.
Yeah,
I don't
neck was
think-
broken
if
as well.
If it was a wild dog, I don't think a wild dog could do that.
Yeah, good point. So it would have just like snapped its neck and then just shut it up and then eat it.
I've heard of reports in America of Bigfoot kind of giving or like causing similar injuries to pets and like animals and stuff, and just like smashing them against like walls and
a lot of
breaking their
people's
necks.
dogs going missing and then them
dogs
finding them out.
just smashed up.
So it is common, and also this was not the only occasion. So in Blackheath, further up, something similar also happened. They found, actually it was only a few months before the occasion with the pony, someone's sheep had the same thing happen to it as well. But it was on the farm. This one was still on the farm.
There is a very mean Yowie getting around the Blue Mountains.
Oh yeah, hungry and mean. So nearly every suburb and every trail in the Blue Mountains has a story to tell about Yowies. There are countless stories online, let alone ones that have never been told before. People are constantly seeing them step out in front of their cars, standing on the sidelines of the bush while watching them camp or go for a walk. Plus, not to mention all the vocalizations that have been heard too. There are some really great websites and YouTube channels that specifically follow the encounters in the Blue Mountains that I follow religiously. Like, they're amazing.
Yeah, I remember when we first started to like talk about doing this podcast, we spoke a lot about like Yowies and stuff, and one of the first things you said to me was like, you need to watch these like Blue Mountains Yowie videos.
Yeah.
On
YouTube. They're just, each one is about an encounter. And they tell you exactly where it's happened, and it's crazy because you're local and you're looking at these spots. They're like, "This is the house, this is the backyard," and you're like, "What the fuck?"
It is
I've
crazy
been on that
when
street.
Like all of these places, like so far that you've mentioned, like pretty much everyone who's lived in the Blue Mountains
knows
for a number of years, you know where it is.
Yeah, I know exactly where all of these are. Yeah,
you go there. Like people visit these places all the time.
Yeah, and if you don't know them, just like go onto Google Maps and you can see how dense the bush is where these places are.
Yeah.
But also it's like some of them are only like, an hour walk from the town. But like it's so, with the Blue Mountains, like it's city and, not city, like a town, and then it's instant bush. Like, and then that's it. There's no like gradual
fading
buffer.
Into
it's just straight up. And I think as well that the reason why the Blue Mountains does receive such a high amount of reports is that there is only pretty much one main road, the highway, that crosses the entire mountain and all of the little towns that run off it. So the Blue Mountains as well, it is like a World Heritage Site, so the forest is protected. Therefore, there's no more buildings that are allowed to be built. You can't expand from there at all. Like if you zoom out from Google Maps, it's pretty much all bush. You can't really see the houses until you kind of zoom in. And it's really, it's a very small like community, really. It's all surrounded by bush. Majority of it has not been explored because it's impossible to get there. Like it's so, these are like massive drops into valleys that no human could possibly walk down and then get back out of.
No.
So I believe it really would be the home of the Yowie. And I definitely think that they're there. I think as well, like they're living in the Blue Mountains. If you just stay in the town, you should be fine. Like, but like as soon as you go into the bush, you're instantly like risking your life. Like I think now I know that they exist.
Different ways.
And I honestly think like half the people in the Blue Mountains probably have heard stories of the Yowies, because when I didn't even believe in them or know anything about them, I heard stories of people's like teachers from their schools and stuff that were having experiences with Yowies, and I was like, what? I didn't get it. And like, they see them all the time. Like there's this particular bushwalk, or people hear these noises from the back of their properties, and I just kind of was like, I don't know what you're fucking talking about. But it's there. It's like very real. It's a very real reality for so many people up there. And as well, there's also a lot of other things that are going on. Like for me, I was always very alert about like UFOs and ghosts. That's always been on my radar. But I think Yowies now are like my number one priority when I move back up there. Like UFOs, sure. That would be kind of cool to see. But a Yowie,
next level.
I'm going to keep my fucking eyes and ears out for those.
Yeah, it's such an interesting place. Like I think you kind of what you alluded to, like if there was the perfect place for a Yowie to live, it would be the fucking Blue Mountains. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's a very small amount has actually been traversed,
Yeah.
like, you know, explored. Like even what you said with like the cliffs and the thick, like, you know, bush and stuff. Outside my, like if you go into my backyard and you look past my back fence, it's like bush, like thick bush, and then like sandstone cliff drop down.
There you go.
So, and that's just kind of saying like
That's
in
most
many people's
places
backyards,
like that.
that's what you see.
Yeah.
So there are so many opportunities for a Yowie to be like hiding in these places.
Definitely. And I know for a fact that there have been Yowies near your area. And I think I've sent you that video.
Yeah. There's one that every single time that I drive on the highway, I think of it because
that particular spot.
There's one spot
I think about it too every time. This one woman talks about this particular spot on the highway near Jordi's house.
I know exactly what she's talking about as well.
It's very traumatic.
But if you were to see a Yowie, that would be the perfect place to see it, is in your car, like driving on the road,
going very
so
fast in a car. Yeah,
I've heard of people seeing them while in their car and they can smell them while even still just being in their car because the odor is so strong.
Stinky ass.
They're just so stinky that like it comes through like the air conditioning and shit.
Holy shit. Well, yeah, that's my Bigfoot. Oh, not my Bigfoot, my Yowie story. Jesus.
That's probably my absolutely number one story that you've done.
I'm
for
glad.
sure, my favorite.
Yeah, it was really good researching this, and it's something I kind of wanted to just research anyway, just for myself. Like, I think this will kind of hit a bit of a nerve for all of our Blue Mountains people, and even just people from I think Australia as well. Yeah. But of course, it's nice to kind of educate people around the world as well of what's going on here. And
definitely, because it is quite
similar. On
similar.
maps.
It's similar to Bigfoot, but like different. It's almost like a different breed. Of cryptid.
Yeah, I think most are. Yeah, because like when you think of the Yeti as well, or the Yeren, I think as well, which is in Indonesia. I think the Yeren.
Yeah,
could be wrong. But yeah, they all are the same but different. They're all just like different.
Yeah, which almost
a different race, maybe even just putting it that way. Yeah,
exactly. And I think that does give it more credibility because different climates and stuff like that. Even just with like animals from our regular animal kingdom, you know, like they vary depending on like, the climate and that kind of thing. So I could imagine that would be the same for like, you know, cryptids, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think so. I mean, it's the only cryptid that you hear of that is seen all over the world and is consistent with everything. Like, you know, there's not to say, you know, that the Mothman isn't real, but there's only one encounter, like, you know, one place where it would be cool if like every city in the world, like everywhere, had their own type of Mothman kind of thing.
It's a pretty fascinating cryptid, just with the amount of sightings there are and with the similarity of every sighting. Like every sighting seems to be the same. Yeah. Like the size, the shape, the fur, and all the hair.
And all of them. And it's not just modern encounters either. It's something that has gone back hundreds, if not thousands of years. And everything that, you know, and the people that have no, you know, I've heard of stories of people that have spoken to people in, I think it was in Afghanistan, where like deep in the bush there was like this really thick forest somewhere where these people had no way, they just had no contact with anyone. It was like days to get to this place. Okay. And they asked them if they knew of anything in the bush that was, you know, around, that was big and that's something that they needed to worry about. And they told them about something very similar to the Bigfoot, saying, this is what it's here. And they had their own word for it as well, that they were calling it, and had to try and break down what they were trying to say. And they're like, they've never left their like little village. There's nothing else here. Like there's, I don't know why they would make that up.
Yeah, no. And like, and I feel like with villages like that, it's so much is about also like survival. Yeah. So
Yeah, they're like, don't go out at night, don't go out deep in the bush alone, and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh my God, I just love this story so much.
I'm so glad. Yeah.
For sure, my favorite. Well, mine's quite different to yours, and
I'm
I know
so excited for yours.
Yeah, I know for sure that you've at least heard the name.
Okay.
Of this, but I just don't know like how much you know about it, and I think that's the same for most people. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about something that is absolutely the gold standard for conspiracy theorists, using this as their fuel for validating the possibilities that all conspiracy theories may end up being true, because what I'm going to be talking about tonight is something that once was a conspiracy that did actually end up being true.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I've got one thing, like a particular like event or situation that happened.
I think this is the same thing. So I'm going to be talking about MKUltra.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. Hell fucking yeah.
Yeah, I was on the search for a conspiracy, and
yeah, I mean, this isn't even a conspiracy. It's legitimately...
Well, it was a conspiracy.
It was completely.
Like 100%, which ended up being true.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We're going to get into the...
Oh my God, yes.
The details.
I'm fucking so glad you're doing this one. Holy shit. It's a very, like, hectic story.
It's so hectic. And this is probably one of my longest stories that I've done.
For sure.
And it doesn't even cover like half of what happened. It's like skimming the surface, really.
Yeah. Oh.
So I'll give some recommendations for other like podcasts to listen to for people if they want
to do deep dive. I know I've done so many deep dives on this. I fucking love it. I know. It's so good.
It's so addictive.
Yeah.
So first of all, to be able to understand MKUltra, you first have to focus on the Cold War. The Cold War, for anyone who isn't aware of what happened, the Cold War was a rivalry between the US and the Soviet USSR and their respective allies, and it occurred towards the end of World War II, about 1945. So this was a war without any direct confrontation between the two big powers, like the US and the Soviets.
Yeah.
But there were a few kind of smaller conflicts and civil wars in other areas of the world due to these two big powers fighting.
Yeah.
So many countries in Europe had been weakened due to the years of fighting the Nazis and Japan. And due to this weakness, there were two superpowers left, the US and the Soviets. And because of this, both powers were kind of just scared of each other and their potential to rule the world. And they basically just starting a pissing contest of who had the biggest weapons, who had the biggest dicks, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The Soviets wanted to spread communism, and the US knew that this would be bad news for them. The whole war was basically a battle of propaganda and spies infiltrating each other's countries. It eventually ended. The war ended in 1991 with a weapons stalemate, with both countries holding missiles and weapons that would take millions of lives if utilized. So I guess they were both just kind of like talked down.
Yeah.
And just said, fuck it, it's not worth it.
Not worth it. Yeah, everyone dies. So
everyone just fucking dies.
stop.
Yeah, exactly. And like all these little civil wars were getting kind of more intense, and it's just chaos, you know. So out of the war came the formation of new borders across the globe, the creation of NATO, the rise and fall of the Berlin Wall, the space race, as well as the Vietnam War. And so this is just a very, very basic overview of the Cold War. It's a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah.
So it's safe to say that during the war, both the US and the Soviets were extremely paranoid, and I guess rightly so.
Yep.
There were many spies in each other's countries, and they were just kind of like stealing information from each other constantly, trying to one-up each other. And due to this, there were many strange and unique projects formed in hopes of beating the other enemy on both sides. One of these projects was called MKUltra, So MKUltra was created by the CIA in response to fears that the Soviets and their communist allies had already been working on mind control techniques as well as mind controlling drugs. So the US thought that the Soviets were already all over this, and they were like, oh, we better start it too. And this was mostly fueled by the fact that US POWs were returning home to America after being captured, and they were spouting praises of communist ideals, as well as just generally talking about like the amazing ways of life that existed within the enemy's country.
Right.
So they were coming home and they were just like, communism is fucking awesome, and like this country is great. So the US was like, oh, they must be under mind control.
Yeah, something's not right here.
Something is not right. Yeah. So when MKUltra was created, it was funded with $25 million to back its experiments to further the CIA's understanding of what they could achieve with mind control. And this is way back when. So I should have done like the equivalent, but I didn't.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. More than what $25 million is now.
Oh,
a lot more.
It's a lot. Yeah. And how did they try to achieve this mind control? They did it by secretly dosing thousands and thousands of psychiatric patients, prison inmates, and even general citizens with quantities of LSD.
Yep.
And they were then studied by the CIA.
Wow, what lovely people.
Oh, yeah. And it goes further than just dosing them with LSD. They also just abuse them in all sorts of psychological techniques, such as like sleep deprivation and sensory deprivation, hypnosis, just to name a few amongst a slew of techniques that they would use.
Which is already bad enough, but imagine being like on acid and then fucking having that shit happen to you as well. Like,
oh my God.
There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse.
Nothing worse. And even aside from these like psychological abuses, they would also experiment with like radiation.
Yeah. Okay.
And stuff like that. So it was like full, like
the worst of
concentration camp experimentation
to their own
style.
people.
Yeah, to their own people. So all of this is 100% illegal and even breaks what is called the Nuremberg Code, which is basically like a rule that prohibits experimentation on human subjects without their consent.
Yeah.
But the CIA thought, fuck it, let's just do it anyway. To our own people.
Yeah.
The creator of Project MKUltra was a man named Sidney Gottlieb, and Gottlieb said this about the process of which he was trying to achieve through the project. Quote, first, you had to blast away the existing mind. Second, you had to find a way to insert a new mind into that existing void. So MKUltra was not just about experimenting on unsuspecting people with drugs just to see what happened. It was mainly an attempt to erase and wipe a person's mind and memory and create one that could be controlled and implanted by the CIA. They basically just
beneficial
wanted to remove
people that they want to use.
Soldiers, basically, you know. Yeah, so the reason the CIA would want the control of people's mind would be to also be able to extract information from captured spies and, as you said, kind of control citizens into performing tasks that they want them to do against their enemies. Like, So, pretty intense.
Fucked up. It's
shit.
Just messed up.
Yeah, and it was all like...
How many people don't know MKUltra existed?
No. I think a lot of people think that they just kind of like gave LSD to people and...
Oh, it's like, that's not even... That's the tip of it. Like...
Yeah, it was actual torture.
Yeah.
You know. So as I mentioned earlier, LSD was the CIA's main tool in their experiments against their victims. And LSD was only invented 10 years before the first creation of MKUltra in 1943. And Sidney Gottlieb's plan was to buy the entire world's supply of LSD to be used for his experiments, as well as using it on future armies and POWs if his experiments were successful.
A world's supply of LSD.
Oh, yeah.
Bro,
So,
party boy, calm down.
He didn't manage to get the world supply, but he did manage to acquire the whole supply within US soil.
That's...
Which is still a lot. That's still like heaps of fucking tabs.
That's way too many tabs, yeah.
Yeah. And once he had this LSD in his hands, he began distributing it to psychiatric hospitals and prisons and other institutions under a bogus guise of it being other types of medication meant to help the people it was going to be administered to. So even many of the nurses and hospital and prison workers didn't know what was happening, bar maybe like a few high up doctors. Due to the shadiness of the project, Gottlieb often worked alone in these experiments and would often be the only person filing the research from the outcomes. So this meant that official reports created from the experiments were unprofessional, to say the least. And it also meant that when the experiments ended in tragedy, which they often did, Gottlieb was never under any pressure to face criticism and to lodge these files that, kind of explained these tragedies. He could just kind of ignore it. So he never really needed to report any kind of incidences.
Oh my God.
So we do know of a few very bad things that happened during the project, but chances are there was a lot more that happened, but due to Sidney Gottlieb not having to file these, then
they just slipped under the radar and just got away with it.
So I apologize if all this information is a little bit all over the place at the moment, but there are so many points to talk about with MKUltra. It's just such a massive project and a massive story. MKUltra had a finger in so many different pies. It was such a massive operation. Even aside from the main project itself, there were 162 sub-projects underneath the main project, which again all involved mind control, hypnosis and LSD and different drug cocktails. One of these projects was called Midnight Climax, which is a very fitting name, and you'll soon find out why.
Oh, God.
So, Project Midnight Climax was basically the CIA using sex workers to lure men into hotel rooms where they would unknowingly be drugged with like LSD, cannabis, and even truth serum. And then the sex workers would have sex with them and try to get them to divulge secret information about their lives.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, midnight. What is it, midnight?
Midnight Climax.
That's actually a really funny name. Who's coming up with these names? Oh, God.
So, like these men weren't spies or communists or anything like that. They were just civilians who were being experimented on to see if under these drugs and influence,
oh my fucking God,
they would talk about illicit details of their lives.
Yeah.
All while officials from MKUltra were watching the whole time behind a two-way mirror.
Yeah, of course.
Which is even more sus.
Yeah.
Pretty
wanking
creepy.
Off. Little creeps.
Definitely wanking off, for sure.
Hands down. Midnight Climax.
I'll give you a midnight climax. Yeah. So, Project Midnight Climax first started off in New York, but quickly spread to other areas of America. According to some who were involved with this particular project, things got so wild within the project that CIA agents would go out to bars and clubs in the areas they were working in and just dose random people's drinks with drugs.
Oh my God.
And they would just sit back to watch what happens. So they were just like,
holy fucking shit,
spiking people's drinks.
That's messed up.
For shits and giggles, yeah. So, this is definitely not controlled experiments like we would want to see.
Yeah, definitely not. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like, I can't even take acid or anything like that anymore. Like, I just have, like, go into a psychosis, like, straight
Same.
away.
Fucking same. This whole, I'm so sorry to any family that's listening, but this whole story gave me flashbacks.
Yeah.
Like, it almost made me feel sick in my belly.
Yeah.
Just
Thinking of a bad
it.
trip. And you're not like, I didn't fucking do any of this shit. I just took the drug and was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go out in the bush and have some fun, and I would have the worst time ever.
The worst
Let
fucking
alone
time.
I'm not being fucking like waterboarded or like sleep tortured or any of this shit. Like I can't, I've just got like the room is too dark for me, and I'm like, oh, it's over. This
the
is
feeling is bad.
Yeah,
this is
the vibe's
terrible.
not
I'm gonna
it's
go
not a
throw
good
up for
vibe
10
in here.
hours. Oh man, I've had some terrible experiences. Oh my God, my family listens to this. I don't even want to say the word, but I have to. I'm an adult. It's fine. I've had some terrible trips where I have just been like vomiting for like 10 hours straight. And
10 hours is a long time.
Yeah, maybe not 10 hours, but like a long time.
Very unwell, like
very unwell, especially when you're out in the bush at like a party or something.
Oh, it's horrible.
And it's
it's
horrible.
You just want to be
is
warm and like cozy somewhere, and if you're just in the wrong place, or even if you're just around people you don't know, it's
fucked. Anyway, let's continue. So the man who was running this particular project, Midnight Climax, was a man named George White. And George, he was a bit of a fucking creep. He would actually tape these rendezvous with the men and the sex workers and use them later on to blackmail the men.
Oh my God.
And I'm sure he was using those tapes for something else in his spare time.
True.
What a creep.
Secret stash as well.
Oh, yeah, secret stash. I'm just also going to slip in a nice, fun quote from George White from when he was asked about why he became a spy. Quote, "Where else could a red-blooded American boy lie, kill, cheat, steal, rape, and pillage with the sanction and blessing of the All-Highest?" So this guy was a real piece of work.
Oh my, put this man down.
Put him into the fucking trash.
I like, oh, that's like everything, the worst of everything
that you
say.
shouldn't do.
Like, do you know what you're saying?
It's a weird hill to die on, isn't it? Like, oh, I'm just gonna
I want to be the most fucked
steal.
up person, but also I want to be for the people.
Yeah, it's for the sake of the people, and God has given me his blessing
to be a sneaky little fucking snake demon fuck. Oh my God. I know he's probably dead now, but
let's hope so.
I hope
anyway,
it was a horrible death.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope he got dosed to death with acid.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a thing, but let's hope so. But yeah, I think George White is definitely a good representation of the type of staff hired for MKUltra. They didn't have the best track record for ethics and that kind of thing. So another horrible experiment that took place within MKUltra was that done on a patient who was housed at a psychiatric facility in Kentucky. And this poor fella was continuously fed LSD 24 hours a day for 174 days.
Oh, no. Oh, his brain
His brain is fried.
That's gone.
And he's already in a psychiatric facility.
Oh, yeah, true.
So he's already vulnerable mentally.
Yeah.
And they just blasted his brain into the sun.
Wow.
With that LSD.
Wow.
Like 174 days. So I know you've tripped before and I've tripped before. So, and I think it's a pretty universal thing for people who are tripping to feel like one trip feels like 100 million hours. It feels like you've been tripping for a lifetime.
It doesn't end.
It doesn't end. So could you imagine doing that for 174 days. I mean...
And the acid was good back then.
Oh, yeah.
That was not the acid we were taking. Like, that is fucking quality CIA grade acid.
Yeah. like pure...
And they were probably dosing him up. Like, one dose is probably, like, hectic.
Oh, man. I bet it was so good.
Yeah, for the first round, he was like, you know what? This is kind of fun. And then the next day, he's like, oh, no, I'm good. The trip's ending. You don't need to give me more. Yeah. And they're like, no.
174 days, motherfucker. But I just could not imagine like anything worse, just tripping for that long.
Nope.
It would be like hell. It would be like hell.
It would actually be hell. Oh, yeah, because your brain would actually start to completely fuck out. Oh, nothing would be normal anymore. You would become, if you weren't already, you would become completely schizophrenic. You would start having like full, like it would just be, there's no good coming out of that.
No. I know someone who accidentally took, it was like, don't even ask me how it happened, but accidentally took the equivalent of like 30 tabs at one time. This is an ex-partner of mine.
Wow.
And yeah, oh my God, Steph.
Or in liquid form?
Liquid and tabs.
And accidentally.
It was accidental. What? I have a feeling the first few were accidental, and then once he started kind of going a bit crazy with all the acid, he didn't quite know what he was doing and just took like the rest.
How long did it take for him to come out of it?
1 week.
Oh
he was tripping for 1 whole week. It was fucking horrible. Oh my God. And yeah, he like literally, even after he came out of the trip, he was never the same again. Like
really,
his brain was just a bit fried.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that was really intense and really horrible to see. So this guy who was tripping for 174 days, like that's just too much. But it wasn't just the acid that they were giving him while he was tripping. He was being repeatedly subjected to audio recordings to try and record his to try and control his mind and try and break him down. And it would be like the same sentence repeated over and over and over thousands of times. So, yeah, I don't know what happened to him after that.
That's an acid trip on its own, just doing that.
It is, yeah. One of the more well-known tragedies of MKUltra was the death of a man named Frank Olson. So Frank Olson, he was a US Army biochemist and biological weapons researcher who wasn't exactly working under MKUltra, though his boss was Sidney Gottlieb, the creator of MKUltra. Dr. Olson developed a whole range of potential bioweapons that could be used against enemies, such as an aerosol weapon that could be transmitted through air particles. He invented this lipstick that would like kill a person within like a minute after being used.
God, wow.
And all sorts of like crazy spy shit like that. And because of this, he was a very high level employee of the US government.
Of course.
During his employment, Dr. Olson would be stationed all across the world to work in various biolabs, developing technologies and researching. And he said that he was one time traveling through Europe and he witnessed extreme interrogations in which the CIA committed murder using biological weapons that he had developed. And it was not long after this that Frank Olson resigned from his position, probably due to these revelations.
Okay.
And his division chief was the person that he had informed of his resignation. This division chief suggested that Frank go to New York to undergo psychiatric treatment, as it was of his opinion that Frank had kind of cracked under the pressure of his work and needed some help. But I think it was more likely that Frank was just under so much stress from seeing like all these like extreme interrogations and shit that he just needed to get out.
Right, yeah.
So after some time in New York receiving treatment, Dr. Olson would contact his home one morning and tell his family that he was feeling much better. He felt like the treatment was helping. He seemed and sounded calm. He was feeling very relaxed. But only a few hours later, that very evening, Olsen would tragically fall to his death from his high-story hotel room window. Now, there's a lot of controversy surrounding whether he jumped, he was pushed, or perhaps he was already severely injured before the fall. Either way, the CIA ruled it as a suicide, which at first was accepted by his friends and family. But as time went on, things got more and more fishy, and his family in particular really started to question what actually happened to Frank Olsen.
Have you seen just about this kind of particular story? There's a Netflix show called Wormwood. Have you seen it? It's all about this situation.
Or just a Frank Olsen situation? Frank Olsen.
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it's called Wormwood.
I've heard the name. I've seen it on, I've seen it appear on Netflix. I haven't watched it. I'll have to watch it now.
It's very good.
Yeah. Oh, for some reason, I always thought
I never knew it was about. I honestly had no idea, and I was like, oh, let's just watch this, and I was like, oh, what the fuck? This is about MKUltra.
Yeah,
but I didn't know about his story at all.
His story is very, very complex.
Yes.
And what I go over is such a basic outline of
him. It's a whole TV series about it, just to give everyone a bit of perspective.
It's a whole TV series. Yeah, there's lots of different theories and stuff like that, and details leading up to his death and his work and stuff. Yeah. So it was in 1975, which was the year that details of MKUltra were released to the public, that Frank's family started their own little investigation into the details surrounding his death. They found that the window in the hotel room he was staying in was way too small for Frank to have run and leapt through and smashed through down onto the ground, causing his deaths, which is kind of the picture that was painted by the CIA as to what happened. It was also found through the MKUltra documents that Frank had actually been drugged numerous times and subjected to mind control techniques himself as part of the project by Sidney Gottlieb himself in person, which is sus as fuck.
Yep.
And apparently Frank was aware that he was being drugged, but according to records, he didn't know until 20 minutes after the ingestion the nature of the drug that he had been given.
Okay.
So he still kind of wasn't fully aware of what was going to happen.
Oh my God.
And I think he was probably a bit misled as well. There's also accounts of Gottlieb essentially using Frank for other experiments, including hypnosis and other kinds of mind control. Okay. So Frank's family don't think that his death was the fault of his own, drug-induced or not. They believe that Frank was murdered as he knew too much from his time working under Gottlieb and for the CIA, and this could pose a risk for the CIA, especially after their experiments with him involving LSD.
I mean, either way, it's so fucking suspicious, and the work he's doing as well. It's someone did it. It wasn't him.
Someone did it. Yeah,
someone done something to him.
It's very interesting. So they eventually actually exhumed Frank to kind of further look at injuries, and so they found that there was this big kind of pocket of blood on his temple, which would have been caused before he fell and hit the ground. And the CIA, apparently they have a manual basically of ways to assassinate people, and the absolutely 100% number one best way to reliably assassinate someone without suspicion is basically a really, really, really sharp, big punch to the temple and then throwing them from a height.
Oh my God.
And this is the CIA came up with this. They kind of put this together.
They are so stupid.
they're fucking, considering they're the CIA, they're
They are
dumbasses.
so dumb. How is the CIA still around?
I don't know.
How is this still? I can't. I'm getting angry now.
And so you should.
Yeah. Fucking hell.
So there were other smaller details surrounding Frank's death that they found strange, aside from the fact that Frank had never suffered any kind of mental health issues. It was learned that only an hour before his death, he had washed and hung up his socks in his hotel room. He had penciled in future dates in his diary, even for the next day, and he had made plans for dinner that night. With saying this, I know that suicide isn't always predicted and there aren't always signs, and it can be just a flash decision. But Frank Olsen's family said that there was no way that Frank knowingly jumped to his death. There was no way that he did this himself.
Yeah.
So moving on, one of the most prolific locations that was involved with MKUltra and the drugging of people was a location in Canada called the Allen Memorial Institute, which was a psychiatric institute, but it also held patients who suffered from things like asthma and TMJ pain, which is a chronic pain of the jaw and something that I actually have as well. So at Allen Memorial, there was a practicing doctor named Dr. Ewan Cameron, and he was the main perpetrator, committing not just like druggings and stuff against his patients, but he also carried out electroshock therapies, hypnosis, sensory deprivation techniques, and more. Dr. Cameron would infamously be known for a method he developed that he dubbed psychic driving, which was where patients would be put into an extended insulin coma while repeated phrases and words were played through a headset on the patient.
Oh my God. Oh.
Yeah, and this recording would play over and over and over, just the same phrase for days, the whole time that they were in this coma.
Yeah.
And the phrases would be things like, your mother hates you, your family hates you, you're weak, you are nothing, just as an example. So they were really trying to just like break them down.
Fuck. That's horrible.
It's disgusting. And these phrases would be repeated from between 250,000 to 500,000 times for each patient.
Oh my God. Okay.
Oh, it's actual torture.
God. Yeah.
These recordings were also played for people who were given huge and prolonged doses of LSD and other drug cocktails, and people who were in like sensory deprivation and stuff as well. The electroshock therapy that was used was 45 to 70 times stronger than the recommended amount used in those days.
Oh.
Which is still more than what we would use today.
Yeah. Oh no, that's bad.
It's really bad. Like the brains would just fry pretty much.
Yeah.
And they would do this essentially to completely wipe the memory of the victim, so further memories and thoughts could be implanted into their minds.
Yeah.
The main purpose of this whole thing. Many of the patients who came out of Allen Memorial Hospital suffered permanent and severe memory loss, violent tendencies, loss of emotion, and so much more. These people's lives were just changed forever. And many of these patients would be described by the friends and families as walking zombies.
Oh.
They were alive, but they weren't, you know.
Yeah. It's like getting a lobotomy. Like,
it's
they're
exactly
just
right.
like they're there physically, but not mentally.
No, that's exactly what
gone.
it's like. It's like they were doing anything to just like take the ability to be human away from these people.
Good. Yeah.
And this was just one hospital of many that were involved with MKUltra experiments. And that's not to mention the prisons, orphanages where children were experimented on, sex workers and other just
Oh my
general
God, they did
citizens
to
as well.
children too. Of course they fucking did. Of course they did.
Yeah, that it was awful.
Wow.
Oh, it's so sad. Yeah, I watched some interviews of people who, as kids, they were given Kool-Aid and it had acid in it.
Cool.
And
very nice.
The women speaking, who like they're now obviously adults, they said that it was just the worst thing that you could ever imagine. Like your child mind being put in those conditions.
You shouldn't, your brain is still developing. Like you should
so
not be
harmful.
taking acid.
No, not at all. Yeah, it's really, really tragic.
Wow.
When drug cocktails were used in prisons, they were passed off as medications that could aid in the affliction of disorders such as schizophrenia and mood disorders, therefore giving hope to prisoners that this medication could help them become rehabilitated and guide them to a path of bettering themselves or healing, So pretty much people like, these psychiatrists and stuff are coming to them being like, we can help you get better, and heal from these bad things that you do with this like miracle medication.
Oh.
So one person who was persuaded into taking a form of this drug cocktail that included LSD was infamous Whitey Bulger. Bulger. Have you heard of Whitey Bulger?
Bulger, I think.
Is it Bulger? Oh God, that's embarrassing. I don't know. I should have looked up the pronunciation.
I'm like 75% sure it's Bulger.
Okay, let's just call him Whitey.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
Whitey, yeah. For anyone who doesn't know who he was an American crime boss, active in America from 1970s to the 1990s. And apparently under the guise of a miracle drug for schizophrenia, he was given LSD every single day for a year. He said of his experience that he thought he was going insane and was going to die every single day, and described it as, quote, absolutely horrific, one of the worst things I have been through, which is saying a lot of a mob boss who was sentenced to life in prison.
Wow.
Yeah. He also claimed that he thought the experiment had caused him permanent brain damage.
Yeah.
Which, I wouldn't be surprised if it did. I'm sure many of these victims sustained some kind of permanent damage in one way or another, sadly. It was in 1973 that MKUltra was shut down on the premise that there were no results being produced from these experiments. Nothing came from the project. We didn't learn anything that could be put to good use today. No scientific information, no successful techniques.
Yeah, they're like, we can break people with what we do, but that's it.
And we still can't control them. I mean, we can break them, but, that's about it. Yeah, this project, it failed completely. And nobody really knew about MKUltra aside from it being a conspiracy that people would rumor about. There were no official documents to be released. As a matter of fact, it was ordered that all files from MKUltra were to be destroyed once the project was shut down.
Yeah.
So hundreds and hundreds of thousands of files were burnt to erase the history of MKUltra. But somehow, during the destroying of these documents, some dum-dum missed about 16,000 of these pages. And they were discovered in 1975 and released in an expose by a whistleblower named John Marks. And because of this, it's the reason we know anything about MKUltra today. Imagine being that person that missed those pages.
It's just crazy. And to think about, like, that is such a small percentage what we know of what happened at MKUltra. So some of the shit that was documented
exactly
was burnt, but then also saying that he didn't even document a lot of stuff as well because he didn't need to.
That's exactly
it's just crazy to think how much more shit there was.
In the pages that we do have, such fucked up stuff happened. So surely there's got to be something in those destroyed pages that is like 10 times worse.
Yeah, which how can you can't even think, like, how much worse can this even get? Like,
I bet they just did the worst things ever. Like worse than this, So after the pages, after the papers came out, there were numerous court cases brought forward by victims and families of victims of MKUltra, but ultimately only 14 people of potentially thousands upon thousands of victims received any kind of recognition or compensation.
Right, yeah.
Not even the slightest fraction of people. Like, it's not even... yeah, it's ridiculous.
Oh God, it's so sad.
So due to the destruction of documents, we still don't know the full extent, like we were saying, don't know the full extent of the project and exactly what they did, but we learnt a lot from those thousands of pages that were discovered, which was a lot. So I could only imagine how much more we would learn from the full file. So many atrocities happened under MKUltra that involved some of the most vulnerable people in society.
Yeah.
And the CIA preyed on them to literally zero benefit. This whole thing just blows my mind, really.
Yeah.
The whole story, as I said, like I've just skimmed the surface of this. There's so much that goes into it.
But it's a legitimate thing that happened.
It's a real
We
thing.
know it happened, and yeah, like it is something that like that conspiracy theorists do hang on to, because it's like, look, and I completely get it. This is something that the government did to their own people. So it's like, where are they going to draw the line? If they're going to do shit like this,
what else can they do?
what else are they going to do? And
yeah.
this was meant to be suppressed. This was not meant to be released. So this was back then in the 70s. Imagine now how secure the documents are. Like, I'm sure they're doing shit still.
And imagine the technologies that they have now as well.
Oh,
so
true.
not even like drug shit. It's like these technologies that, you know, they could be using against.
There's just some,
victims.
It's honestly a crazy, there's so much stuff. I'm sure you've seen the movie Men Who Stare at Goats.
Yes.
That's fantastic. I swear I watch that like every 2 years, that movie.
It's so great.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about that movie so much lately because there's another story that I want to do that.
Oh, okay. I think I might watch that again because it's been a few years since I've seen it, and
it's amazing.
It's kind of reignited my Oh, it's so good. That's definitely a movie recommendation for everyone. That's kind of on this page.
That's another thing that came from the Cold War, was like experimenting with like psychic ability and stuff.
Yes.
I mean, I've actually I did. That was the story that I wanted to do this week.
Oh, okay.
Was Project Stargate.
Yeah.
Which is from what that movie is based on. But it's just very hard to write that kind of...
Yeah, I don't really know how...
It's kind of hard to put that kind of a story together.
Yeah, that would be one you can kind of slowly work on, if you can.
One in the
now
background. That you know I want to do it, I'll spring it up on you.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm so glad you covered that, because it is such a main story that can palm off into so many things for us in the future.
Oh, so
talk
much.
about, like, and I think it is like a really big, like, huge topic to mention, and you did it justice. I thought it was great.
Thank you, and I loved your story. It's just like I was so ecstatic when I found out when your story was.
With like episode.
It's such a great episode. I think with like MKUltra, there's so many different like projects under the main one. There's just so much to cover.
Absolutely.
But if anyone did want like a really good comprehensive overview of MKUltra, there's a podcast called Supernatural with Ashley Flowers, and she has done a great MKUltra episode. So that goes deeper into it with lots of juicy details.
Oh yeah, we'll love that shit.
Well, it's been a great night. Two great stories. I know we always say this, but I mean, I really mean it.
I mean it. I mean it every time. Yeah.
Me too, but especially tonight.
Really good episode.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. We really appreciate your support, and we especially appreciate the support of our patrons. Who, we get to talk heaps of shit with, and we just feel the love from you guys all the time. So,
we love you guys.
Thank you so much.
And thanks so much for listening again, everyone. We're back on board, and I guess we'll be speaking at you next week.
Speak at you then.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
This episode of Spooky Mountain was created and recorded on land of the original custodians, the Gundungurra and Bidjigal people. We pay respects to the past, present, and emerging mob. My name is Jordi, and I'm a proud Gunya woman. Thank you for listening.